All right, folks, let's get started. Last week we talked about three types of shortcuts. We went over aliases and we talked about macros and Lisp routines. And this week we'll dive a little bit deeper into macros, specifically what they can do and how they're written. So a macro lets us run a script and we can predefine command options or we can chain multiple commands together. And I know that this is a little jargony, but we'll come back at the end of each, I think, and hopefully you'll have a better idea. So let's start with an example of predefining command options. You can change a layer in CAD in multiple ways. You can run match properties and select one that matches it. You can highlight an object and search for the layer you want in this drop down. But we can also use the command line. So if we highlight this line and type chprop, which change properties, and we want to select the layer, which is LA, so we're going to change the layer. And then let's change it to the A hatch layer, just for an example. And here, now you can see that the line is on the hatch layer. And that's not particularly useful or quick. We wouldn't do this while we're drafting. But if we can assign those to a single key or like a combination of keys, it can speed things up. And so this is where the control plus numpad shortcuts come in handy. And I think most of you guys are familiar with that. So if we run one of these, let's say the control numpad 2, you can see that the layer changed to our A2 fine. And if we hit F2, we can actually see that what's happened is that chprop command was run, and then the LA saying we want to change the layer, and then this is the specific layer that we run it on. So when we hit that control 2, it's actually running those series of commands with two keystrokes. So to deal with macros, to work with macros, we work in this CUI, Customize User Interface window. And I'm going to glaze over some of this right now, but essentially what you're seeing here is these are all of the commands that could be macros, and those include ones that I've built and customized. And then you have to take them, those are just available. Then you have to take them and assign them to keys or buttons. And you can attach them to keys like your F keys, you can do control numpad, or you can create buttons on a toolbar. Like this is one of my custom ones. But for now, let's just look at how the scripts are built. So if we type in layer, these are all macros that I've built to change objects to specific layers. So this one is the one that we just ran, and here is the script associated with that. And what that script is this --C is essentially just the escape key. And that's if we're in the middle of a command and we've kind of forgotten about it, or if we've typed something in the command line and we run a macro, it's gonna hit escape first just to get out of anything that we're into. So that's just clearing our queue. And then it's going to run the chprop command just like we did, and then hit enter, and then LA for layer, and then hit enter, and then change it to the fine layer, and then enter. The semicolons are enters. So really that is predefining command options. We've run a command and then told it what we want to do inside of that command. And we did all that with one key combination. So let's look now at chaining two commands together, which is probably a little easier to wrap your head around. So a lot of times we run into files where like the file size is large or it's feeling a little laggy, and the first thing we typically do is we run a purge audit. If you don't know about purge audit, come talk to me, but basically it cleans up some unused elements in a file and can repair certain types of errors I'm not super familiar with. So we can go the normal route. We can type purge and run this command, make sure our boxes are checked, and click purge all, and then close that, and then type audit, and then we want to fix any errors detected, so we hit Y, enter. And so that's kind of the normal route. But we can also, just like with our layers shortcut, we can use the command line. And so if you type -purge, that's going to open this menu. And we want to select our options. We want to purge all. This star means everything, and then no, we don't want to verify each item to be purged. And this is doing the exact same thing as what opening that purge window does. It's just doing it all through the command line. And then audit, obviously we're already running from the command line, so that's pretty clear. So just like with the changing of the layers, it's not that we'd ever run this from the command line, but if you know that that's possible, we can create a macro. And I've created one and assigned it to the key combination Control-Shift-P, which I've just run, and so that takes a quick second. But if we hit F2, we can see that what that shortcut did was purge. We purged all, we hit enter on the star, we don't want to verify each name, and then afterwards it ran audit and yes for fixing any errors. So now if we go back to our CUI and type purge, so this is my purge audit macro, and we look at the script, it hits escape, and then says purge, enter, all, enter, and then the asterisk modifier, enter, and then no for we don't want to notify each item. We just want it to run through. And then it finishes that command, hits escape, and says audit, yes. So it's just running what we ran in the command line all at once with one command, or, in this situation, Control-Shift-P. So all we did, that's a lot of work, but all we did here was we chained two commands together, and we, within that we redefined some command options. So I'm not really expecting anybody at this point to start scripting with CAD, but I do think it will be helpful for everyone to understand sort of what conceptually is going on and what could be possible. And I would like, as you're working, for you each to try to be conscious about the steps you're taking to draw and produce drawings, and think about areas where maybe a script could help. And then, if you have an idea for that, come talk to me, and I can help with actually writing a script or implementing it. So in a future video, I'll probably go more in depth into that CUI window and show you guys how to create and assign macros to shortcuts, and also to transfer macros between computers, which is helpful for backing up any macros you create. And it's also helpful for, if I write a macro, I can transfer it to your computer. And if you're able to do that on your own, that's helpful. But I really wanted to stick to the core concepts of macros for this one. So stay tuned for more videos.